Okay, let's see, let's take a look at some of the things that you have here, and we'll sort of work our way through, and if you think of other things that we might add, I actually think I had these out of order a little bit, but let's start over here with assess their own talents. Now, we do some things in our buildings where we do some assessment, all right? But how are we helping kids to assess themselves? Okay, a few ideas here, and some of you may have to help me a little bit on some of these. I've got the true colors inventory. So there's all those kinds of inventories about are you a, what are you, and this kind of thing. And even the old learning styles inventories. You know, they scared me when they first came out because I would get all that feedback and I would go, okay, so this kid needs it quiet, and this kid needs lots of stimulation, and this kid needs the lights low, and this kid needs, you know, I'm just thinking, my gosh, how am I supposed to do this in a classroom of 30 kids? But helping kids understand, this is how I learn better, this is what I need to do when I study, for example. Giving them different options on that is something there. Menu options or choice boards. Is this for like projects? Is that what you're talking about? No one wrote this. It's amazing. Okay. Here we go. So here's what I think it means. And I'm going to actually maybe even move it over here. Maybe somebody from that table. I'm going to move it over here because what I'm thinking is a choice board can be either what I think of a tic-tac-toe board, or I've seen them before when they were like a wheel or bullseye. Okay? And there are different choices and ways to demonstrate your learning. And you can divide it up and you can say everybody has to do the bullseye in the middle, but you can choose 3 from this level and so on and so forth. Now, in order to do that, kids have to know I'm really good at this or that or so on and so forth. I'm going to move that one over there, I think, though. Who am I list, include talents and abilities. So simply, I've done this before in a way of saying, just putting a kid at the front of the room, I've done this as an advisory activity. Who are you? They have to give you an answer. They tell their name. I'm Theresa. Who are you? I'm a daughter. Who are you? I'm a mom. Who are you? I'm a tennis player. Who are you? And you have everybody, you ask them that for a certain period of time, like for a minute. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And they have to think about who they are and who they are. And maybe you can do it as learners. I'm a person who doesn't like math. I'm a person who can't draw. You know, you can do it in lots of different ways. You can also have them do this visually. Create a collage or create something that shows these different segments of your personality. Discuss possible careers after or during each unit of instruction. I like that one. Let me give you another idea off that one. When I introduce a word to my kids, and if it's something I'm really spending a lot of time on, then I'm going to use a concept map. So this is not a word that's just like a word. It's a big, I need you to build concept. One of the things I always do is I say to them, who besides you or I in a classroom setting would actually use this word? So having them think about, oh, well, for example, one of the words, teaching cultures, 7th grade social studies is culture study, Eastern cultures. So in talking about polytheism or monotheism, I need my kids to understand that concept as we study world cultures. Who would talk about polytheism and monotheism? Well, a professor who teaches religion, or someone who is an anthropologist or a sociologist who is studying, and it allows me to introduce more words and also introduce careers to them too. Peer tutoring, which is another, that's a good idea. The use of rubrics so that they can actually evaluate themselves, peer evaluation on rubrics. Journaling. Okay? And I'm going to add to mine, I put reflection logs, which is the same thing. Asking kids, so how did you like this project? What challenged you with this? What made this difficult? If you could change one thing about the way you did this, what would it be? So having them really look inward at themselves. Note-taking, if they can figure out how to take notes, that's always a challenging one for them. But teaching that, lessons that are geared towards student talents. So saying, okay, I've got a bunch of kids who love to do this. I'm going to make sure that I incorporate that in my lesson.
Well,
Anyone?
When we were talking about, you find out who are your football players, basketball players, band members, because we taught high school, and you gear your lessons towards if you have to do a actual football plan, you do your lessons towards that so that the football players in the room understand. You know, because if you can go home and read a playbook, you can understand.
Absolutely.
What it is I'm teaching. So we do the lessons geared toward whatever talents they actually have.
And even if you're in your examples that you give, if you can say, so for example, if you know football, think of it this way, you know, that kind of thing. Or another way of thinking about it might be, so knowing what your kids know, because that's also another connection with those kids too. Planning their pathway. Let's just see if we can hit a couple of those. I see a couple people who would put goal setting up here. I think we don't do enough with goal setting, and I think it's got to be goal setting that's real though. And I'm not talking just academic goals, I'm talking behavior goals, all right? And then we got to come back. We got to come back. A lot of times we set goals, we might even put them on a sticky note, the kids put them on the wall, we never come back. So have them doing some assessment of those goals. Why did you not reach your goal? Take this home to have your parents sign this, and then tell me 3 things that you're going to do so that you know you're going to reach this goal. So I see goal setting, career programs, student contracts, helping kids formulate plans that say, you know, because you know with kids, they think the due date is the due date. I gave you 3 weeks to do this project, you did it on the bus that morning coming to school. Why do you think I gave you 3 weeks? Let's plan out should it look like, and so on and so forth. So helping them understand who they are as learners and then work around it. Okay? Planning. This involves talking to kids. Work cooperatively on challenging tasks. Let's see what we've got here. Does it say 1 fair projects? Which is?
Like science.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't write that, but it's science and math fair.
Yeah. So something that is for another audience besides the teacher. Something that is real, it's for another audience besides the teacher. That in itself makes it challenging. Student-generated topics, assign jobs within a cooperative learning group so that people have roles and responsibilities. Use problem-based learning, unit tasks, use of task managers, performance tasks, standards-based performance tasks, having kids actually work toward a product, not just a test. A product that demonstrates their learning so that everybody has to work together. I've mentioned several times today my teammate that I saw last night, my former teammate, he always did a Rube Goldberg project with our students. Gave them X number of things, and then it had to show all the different simple machines or something like that. He teaches science. He said it was amazing to him. These kids didn't want to do it. He said they just want to go, well, what's the answer? What do you want? They didn't want to, he said, I'm not going to tell you anything, but it's got to have a ramp, and it's got to have this, and it's got to have that. You figure it out. So putting them into those settings where they have to do that. You know why we don't do it mostly? Time. We don't have time to do it. And a lot of times it's just easier, just tell them, give them a test and move on. But this requires so many wonderful skills. Think about those cooperative skills that these kids gain from those kinds of things. I want to talk very quickly about this maintaining a record. And you have some great things here. You've got agendas, you've got planners, you've got student-created grade book, journaling, student tracker, quick check, science journals. I want to suggest a couple things for you that if you haven't thought about. One that I really, really like, well, 2, these are sort of related. One is simply a data wall. And we're inundated with data. We're swimming in data. Do your kids know their own data? Do they know this is where I am, this is what I can do, and maybe you put it on a wall, maybe they have a folder